So in the image that we have here, we can see a gondola scene. And gondolas were, of course, a mode of transportation that was unique to Venice at the time. And they had a lot of various different uses. And one of the uses that they had were to transport brides on their way to their weddings. And we can see here that this image, we have a bride sitting with flowers and she's being guarded by a chaperone. But as this image reveals, when you lift a tiny imperceptible flap, underneath the covered gondola is a different scene, a scene of a bit more ill repute. And we can see actually here that this woman is no longer a bride on her way to get married, but rather instead a sex worker, a courtesan. And here she is with her swain who is touching her breasts. And it becomes an image to show the diversity of experiences, both sacred and profane, that could be happening in Venice, right? The holiness of matrimony versus sort of the lascivity of sex work that so intrigued a lot of citizens in Venice. And this was published in 1588 by Pietro Bertelli in Venice. And this image became so popular with locals and foreigners across the world that it was copied many times. And if we look at our second image, we can actually see an example of a copy of this image that was made by a German student, Niklaus Kiepel. And here we can see that he takes the same covered gondola conceit and he slightly switches this image of Venice to reveal his own personal experience of the city. So instead of being with her chaperone, the courtesan is now with a suitor who is no longer touching her breasts, but it's more sexually charged, and he's instead touching her genitals. And what the caption says above is that the city of Venice has over 8,000 gondolas, partly which are owned by the city and partly which are owned by noble gentlemen, and that it is the greatest pleasure of all time. So you can see from this work that the identity of the courtesan and the experiences they offered to travelers was something that was really lusted after by locals and courted and foreigners alike.